The Vatican hacked, coronavirus evidence destroyed, and Chinese students kidnapped themselves. That and more on this week's China News headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. You know, God may be all-knowing, but the Vatican? Apparently not so much. In fact, sometimes the Vatican can't even see what everyone else can see. Back in 2018, the Vatican made a deal with the Chinese Communist Party. Look, just because the Communist Party ruthlessly suppresses Catholics doesn't mean the deal was unholy. It was unholy and stupid. The deal gave the officially atheist Communist Party the power to help appoint bishops in China. It also officially recognized several bishops that the party had previously appointed against the wishes of the Vatican. Letting the atheist Communist Party appoint your religious leaders doesn't make a lot of sense, but on the bright side, surely the relationship between the Vatican and China would be great after signing that deal, right?
Hackers linked to the Chinese government have reportedly infiltrated the Vatican's computer networks, including communications with the Catholic diocese in Hong Kong. Among the targets was the head of the Hong Kong Study Mission, who is seen as the de facto representative of Pope Francis to China.
Wow, who knew betrayal would be part of a deal with the Chinese Communist Party? In fact, the Vatican is said to be hacked from China before talks with Beijing. Wait, what kind of grammar is this? What's that, Shelley? All right, I'm being told this is a special type of passive voice. The technical term is the "please let us back into China" passive voice, since, China recently expelled New York Times reporters. I mean, who knew betrayal would be part of a deal with the Communist Party? Anyway, the Vatican hack was detected by cybersecurity company Recorded Future. They said a Chinese state-sponsored hacking group they've named Red Delta targeted the Vatican and other Catholic organizations. This is significant. The Chinese Communist Party has often used cyber attacks on religious groups like Buddhist Tibetans, Muslim Uyghurs, and Falun Gong practitioners outside China. But this is the first time that we know of where they targeted a religious organization as powerful and secretive as the Vatican. That's why the Pope's hat is so big. It's full of secrets. And those are secrets the Chinese Communist Party wants to know. Specifically because the Vatican and China are supposed to meet in September for talks about renewing that deal to appoint bishops. But maybe now the Vatican will realize those bishops are just pawns, and they'll back out before it's checkmate. I'm pretty good at checkers. We all know the Chinese Communist Party covered up the coronavirus, but it looks like they also could have destroyed evidence. That's according to University of Hong Kong infectious disease expert Professor Kwok Yun Yuan. He was involved in the investigation of Wuhan and told the BBC physical evidence was destroyed and the response to clinical findings was slow. And just remember, the Communist Party's cover-up of the coronavirus is what helped it spread around the world, putting us in the position where we can't even kiss our pets anymore. I'm sorry, this has been a very difficult time for me. Senior McFluffberg, I still love you even if I can't kiss you. Meanwhile, another wave of the coronavirus seems to be spreading from the northeastern Chinese city of Dalian. Dalian has been linked to cases in 9 other Chinese cities, including Beijing. If you watch our other show, America Uncovered, you'll know about the arrest of a Chinese military researcher who was hiding out in the San Francisco Chinese consulate. And if you don't watch America Uncovered, you should check out that episode for more on that story, including how the FBI figured out that she was lying about being in the military. It's pretty funny. That comes after the US shut down the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas, and China retaliated.
China's foreign ministry announced as of 10 a.m. Monday morning the US consulate in the Chinese city of Chengdu has closed. China had given the closure orders on Friday, with just 72 hours to vacate.
And after this short break, we'll go to Hong Kong, where things are going well for the people in power. Welcome back. Over in Hong Kong, things are not great. 4 ex-members of a former pro-independence student group have been arrested under the new national security law. That's the law that Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie said would only affect an extremely small minority of people, but it ended up affecting literally everyone in the world. I mean, who knew betrayal would be part of a deal when Hong Kong was given to the Communist Party? One of the people arrested was 19-year-old Tony Chung, and he has the honor of being the first political figure arrested under the national security law. Chung had started an organization called Student Localism for students who wanted Hong Kong independence. But they had disbanded before the national security law went into effect. Hong Kong police said they arrested 4 students aged 16 to 21 based on social media posts. Speaking of social media, the Hong Kong police announced the arrest on Twitter and used a new hashtag, HKIndependence, which then began trending. And now, under the national security law, Hong Kong police have no choice but to arrest themselves for inciting secession. Meanwhile, Benny Tai, a Hong Kong University professor and a leader of the 2014 Umbrella Movement protest, has been fired. If he wishes to appeal the decision, he would have to either go through the university's chancellor, Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam, or a judicial review. I'm sure he'll get a fair hearing. And in other terrible Hong Kong news, the government has banned at least 12 Hong Kong pro-democracy candidates from running in this September's Legislative Council elections, including Joshua Wong. And there could be further disqualifications ahead. According to a government spokesperson, candidates were disqualified because lawmakers cannot promote independence or self-determination for Hong Kong, seek intervention from foreign governments, object in principle to the national security law, or express an intention to vote down any legislative proposals, appointments, funding applications, and budgets introduced by the HKSAR government after securing a majority in the LegCo so as to force the government to accede to certain political demands. Wait, they can't vote against Hong Kong government proposals or budgets. Why have a legislature at all? Why have elections? Well, don't worry, because that's a problem for a future time. There are rumors that the Hong Kong government might delay the 2020 legislative election for an entire year because of the coronavirus. All this comes after a huge number of people showed up earlier this month to vote in pro-democracy primary elections, which is a good indication that the pro-democracy candidates would win big in September, like they did last year in local district council elections. So now, the Hong Kong government is not only considering delaying the legislative election for a year, but it's also trying to disqualify all of the opposition from running. That's on top of a system that's already rigged to give the pro-Beijing establishment a constant majority in the legislature anyway. Sounds like the government is very confident that they have the support of the Hong Kong people. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is getting more and more concerned about Hong Kong. New Zealand has just suspended its extradition treaty with Hong Kong. The UK did the same thing last week. Plus, the UK and the US are getting mighty suspicious about that possible election delay in Hong Kong. Speaking of total scams, Australia says Chinese students are targets in virtual kidnapping scams. Here's what's happening. A lot of Chinese students are stranded in Australia and other countries because of the coronavirus. China won't let them back in. Then, one day, these students get a call from scammers speaking Mandarin saying they're with the Chinese government. The scammers then tell the students they've been charged with a crime and need to pay a huge fee or else. So far, it sounds like these scammers really understand the Chinese Communist Party. How does a Chinese student get the money? Well, scammers instruct victims to cease contact with their family and friends, rent a hotel room, and take photographs or video recordings that depict them bound and blindfolded. These files are then shared with the victims' relatives overseas. So the scammers scare the students into faking their own kidnapping, and then their parents freak out and send money to the scammers. This year, 8 known incidents of virtual kidnappings have been reported, with scammers targeting Chinese international students and successfully obtaining $3.2 million in ransom payments. $3.2 million? Mom, Dad, if you're watching, I have been kidnapped. Please send money to my bank account. Speaking of needing cash, now is the time when I answer questions from you, my loyal 50-cent army. Fans of the show support what we do through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Charlie Matsubara asks, Chris, Matt, and Shelley, how has the CCP virus affected the show? As a longtime subscriber, I see the number of views and subscribers have grown significantly. Have your waistlines grown proportionally as well? Well, Charlie, when the CCP virus hit, everyone was deeply affected by the Chinese Communist Party in a way that had never happened before. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know about China, and a lot of new people came to our channel. We started the year off with about 900,000 subscribers. Now, we have 1.38 million. Sadly, our YouTube ad revenue has not gone up proportionally, because YouTube decided to demonetize a lot of our videos about the CCP virus, and that was especially the case in the first 2 months of the outbreak. And that illustrates why your support on Patreon is so important. China Uncensored is a platform people have been using to learn about the coronavirus, but we wouldn't be able to keep it running if we had to rely on YouTube ad revenue, even as a channel with more than 1 million subscribers and millions of views a month. As for our waistlines, look, I stress eat. When the gyms open up again, I swear I'll lose all the weight. It's like a New Year's resolution, only a post-coronavirus resolution. Or maybe I'll just start wearing sweatpants. Anyways, thanks for your question, Charlie. And for all of you watching, consider joining the China Uncensored 50-cent army. You'll have a chance to ask me questions on the show, and there's some other cool perks as well. Check out patreon.com/China Uncensored to learn more. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.